FM23 is just around the corner, and here on the manager's seat we love a good save ideas video. Stinger has already bought us 5 saves for the beta release. Laird Aim has bought us his sugar daddy clubs, and Johnny has already given us his top clubs in need of a rebuild. But in this video we're heading down the footballing pyramid, looking at clubs that play in the bottom division of their respective countries to bring you 5 road to glory challenges. We've been scouring the globe in search of the greatest FM23 adventures, and we found 5 epic clubs that you can take from the bottom division of the nation they play in all the way to domestic and European glory. We've tried to stay away from some of the more obvious ideas, and instead we'll be bringing you the exotic, the historic, and the unusual. And we'll be starting in Spain, where we're heading to the Basque Country. This is a region where football is dominated by the giant of Athletic Club and Real Sociedad. But there are plenty of other great clubs in this region, and even in Spain's lower leagues, we'll find a host of Basque clubs. And it's in the 4th tier where we will find Arenas Club de Getxo. Now, Arenas Club may not be as familiar a name as some of the more illustrious rivals from the area, but back in 1919, when football in Spain was still organised on a regional basis, Arenas Club won their local league and qualified to represent the region in the Copa del Rey. The club made it all the way to the final, where they took on champions of Catalonia FC Barcelona, where 3 goals in extra time gave Arenas Club a 5-2 victory. And in 1928 it was actually a director of Arenas Club that first proposed the formation of a national league, and thanks to this small Basque club a 10-team La Liga was born. Unfortunately, their own stay in the top flight would only last 7 seasons, but in FM23 you could take charge of an Arenas Club who now play in the 4th tier of Spanish football. This is a unique opportunity to take charge of one of the oldest sides in their nation, a club that was instrumental in founding the league that you could compete in. Guiding this tiny side back to the top of Spanish football would be a huge challenge, but one that you could make even more complex by adopting a Basque-only policy. Toppling the great sides in Spain would be one almighty challenge, but if you're looking for a side with a long history, as well as huge significance in the domestic game, then Arenas Club may just be worthy of your consideration for your FM23 challenge. For our second suggestion, we're going to go with another club that was a founding member of the league in their country, but this time we're heading from Spain to Belgium. Giants such as Anderlecht and Club Brugge were not formed until years after the inaugural season of the Belgian top flight. But in FM23, you could manage one of the sides that was dominant during the early years of Belgian football. Whilst Brussels-based Union Saint-Gilloise have had their resurgence, the very first winners of Belgium's top flight are RFC Liège. For much of the last century, they've been in the shadow of their city rival Standard. But could you take on the challenge of restoring RFC Liège as a top flight club? In total, they've won the top division on 5 occasions, but the club's approaching 70 years since its last league triumph, and the last time that they were on the big stage was back in 1990 when they managed to win the Belgian Cup final. Since then, Liège's greatest claim to fame is their involvement in the contract dispute with Jean-Marc Bosman that allowed players to leave for free at the end of their contracts. But is this where you enter the scene? Could you take charge of this 3rd tier club and guide them back to the top flight? Could you take the nation's first domestic league winners, a club that holds 5 league titles in total, and turn RFC Liège into a superpower of Belgian football? But from 2 clubs with grand histories, we're going to travel from Belgium to Portugal and a much younger side. Oriental Dragon were only formed in 2014 and have never played higher than Portugal's 3rd tier, but last season they finished bottom of their group in the regular season as well as bottom of their relegation group, and this season they're back in the 4th tier of Portuguese football. So what makes a club with limited history and little pedigree an attractive proposition for FM23? Well, in the case of Oriental Dragon, it's their ownership. The club is bankrolled by a Chinese investment company whose goal is to bring young Chinese talent to Europe where they can be trained by Portuguese coaches. Were you to take charge, signing Chinese players is part of the club culture. In a nation where only 5 clubs have ever won the top division, climbing from the 4th tier to the 1st will be a challenge in itself. But doing so with a side containing Chinese players that you've developed might just be your most epic football manager adventure to date. For Club 4, we're moving from Europe to South America and to the League of Argentina. If you're looking for all of the passion of Argentina's big clubs and a side that are the local rivals of Boca and River, then a road to glory with Quilmes might appeal. Quilmes is a city in Greater Buenos Aires. It's home to 230,000 residents beer production, and the oldest remaining professional club in Argentina. Quilmes currently reside in the second division and have won the top flight twice, in 1913 and again in 1979. Quilmes are famed for their passionate fans and play in a 30,000 capacity arena, but it's been several seasons since they've played top flight football and their supporters yearn for a return to the big time. Could you win this club a third title and triumph in continental competition? If you're looking for a change from a European save in FM23, Quilmes may just be the challenge you've been searching for. And for our final suggestion, we head to Turkey, where the domestic game has long been dominated by Galatasaray, Beşiktaş and Fenerbahçe. In fact, aside from Istanbul's big three, only Trabzonspor, Başakşehir and Bursaspor have won the title. Bursa is located to the south of Istanbul, but since their relegation from the second division last season, Bursaspor now find themselves competing in the third division of Turkish football. But that gives you the opportunity to guide them back to the big time. This is a club with a stadium that holds almost 43,000 fans, who in 1986 were winners of the Turkish Cup, but in 2010 they would experience even greater triumph. Going into the final weekend of the league season, Bursaspor had to better the result of Fenerbahçe to win the title. But whilst the Istanbul Giants could only draw 1-1 with Trabzonspor, Bursaspor were beating their rivals Beşiktaş 2-1. A little over a decade ago, Bursaspor were competing in the Champions League. If you took on this challenge, you'd have some fine facilities to develop your own talent with, and a club culture that encourages developing youth. And now you have the opportunity to guide this club to promotions back to the top flight, where you could turn them into a powerhouse of Turkish football and compete once more in European competition. So there's 5 clubs, each of which you could easily play 10 plus seasons with on FM23. But if you're looking for more save idea inspiration, check out this video next.